x here, I say, no, I'll say value of y,
49 times 2.
y is, and just simply y, right? So what I want to do is print y. It is not happy.
The terminator.
So I didn't print terminator, right? So it's still not happy. Why? Who can fix that?
Let's put a new integer. Let's put a new integer.
Right, so you have to make it a new integer, right? Otherwise, it does not know what y is, right? So those kind of errors, the more you do different things, the more you will see, and the more you will be able to quickly fix. So the value of y is 49, right? It makes sense. But I said, no, I didn't want. I want this to be x. It will still be 49, but we'll see. It's 49, right? But I said, no, I didn't want x to be added. I wanted 6 to be added to the x first, and then x to be multiplied with the whole of it, right? So first of all, it will do the same if you don't put anything that tells your expression how you want to evaluate it. It will use the mathematical ways of evaluating it, which is that it will do the multiplication first, and then division, then addition, then subtraction, right? So in this case, it did multiplication first. 7 times 6 is 42, and then it added 7 again and became 49. I said, no, this is not exactly what I want. So what I'll have to do, same thing as I do in the multiplication. I add a bracket, and then it will print a little bit differently. It first added 6 by 7 plus 7, which became 13, and then it multiplied by 7, which was 7, and it became 91. 7 times 13 is 91, right? So all of this is an expression. Again, it is up to you what you write it, but you have to practice a little bit of that, because mathematical expressions will be a really big thing once you start doing some basic programming. Or at least it will be a reasonably big thing as such, or some kind of understanding. So a basic understanding is very important. So that is a mathematical, so there are a compiler or a program can do 2 types of expression evaluation. So what is this? An expression, right? And who gave the answer? Of course, the compiler or the program created an answer, right? That's called expression, of course, not evaluation, but expression evaluation, and then solving the expression. There are 2 types of expressions, there could be. One is logical and one is mathematical. We'll talk about logical, but this is mathematical. So what happens is, a mathematical expression, when solved, gives a mathematical result. Say, in this case, we got a 91, right? If there was a float or double or something, we will get maybe 3.1417, right? A logical would result in true or false, which means that we will do something and then eventually we want a result to be true or result to be false. And there are lots of uses of it, we will come to it. But anyways, so you'll see that even for a very basic program, we can do quite a few things, learn quite a few things, create a lot of errors, and then fix those errors. So that is in the first class, for those people who are in the first class, that is like the whole circle that was created, added, test, verify kind of circle. Anyway, so this was a little bit from the homework that that was done. What else can we say from there?
A question.
Yes.
For like learning, if you remove the plus signs, can you do that? I want to see what you do the result. Yeah.
So one of the things, so it will not give you a result because it will not be happy, right? This is what you're saying, right?
Yeah. And the other
For
place,
example,
yeah.
or this one, right?
Both.
Yeah, same thing. It's the same thing. So I will tell you what happens. It will give you so many errors, right? And it's a little bit complicated to begin with, but we can see. I'll try to explain. What happens is system out parent line, right, is to print a string. Period. It does not know. It can know other things, but mainly it is to print a string. And we have not talked about string, but string is anything in the quotes. But there is some part which is in the quotes, and there are some parts which are not in the quotes. So anything which is in double quotes is a string, right? So it will take it. Anything which is not in the double quote, it will say, oh, I don't know this thing. This thing does not look like a string to me. So it will do a lot of processing in itself. First it will say, is it a variable? So it will search it in its variable symbol and say, yes, this is a variable. It will say, okay, can I change this variable into a string? So for some variables, which are like basic variables, some variables, it can change the variable into a string. So it will say, okay, I'll change the variable into a string. So it changes x into a string of the value of x. Then plus is a concatenation sign. Concatenation. Concatenation. Concatenation means to add two things together or to join. So it's a plus is a join sign for strings. Or a lot of things, means when you go into deep, then it could be a lot. But for this case, plus is a join sign for two strings. So it will take x value, convert it into a string, add into the other string that you see on the right side. Add it to this string. Then it will come to the next one and say, what is that? So if I take out the plus, then it does not know what is going on. So it will give an error. But I'm just explaining to you that what happens. Then it will come to x again, and it will say, okay, x again. And then it will see x, then times, then 2. And it will keep reading until unless it can say, okay, I have an expression. So x times 2 is an expression. Just like this is an expression, right? So it kind of knows, just because it knows from here that it's an expression, it knows here also that it's an expression. So it will evaluate that expression. It will do an x times 2 first, get a value, then say, okay, can I change it into a string? And say, okay, it can be changed into a string. Then it will make it a string, concatenate it into the whole string, and then you will see the result. So it becomes a little bit complicated from that point of view as exactly what it is doing, but it's not a big deal once you are kind of like working on it. So that I was saying just because we were talking about. So that is from our homework. So hopefully a lot of things about homework should be very clear, right? And then errors and stuff. The other thing is that we want to do something from homework is a very basic program, right? But now we have added a little bit more. We've added some expression, some more mathematics, the way that we can do a little bit more complicated mathematics, right? So now if I tell you, or I'm not going to tell you, but say for example you want to do x and then a y, right? Of course, int y is equal to something, right? And then int z is equal to something. And then maybe create something, do some mathematical expressions, and then print out the result, right? And a lot of times, the better things while you're practicing is not to do expressions right in system out print line. So do an expression like this, and put, say for example, z is equal to x times 2, and then print z here, right? So it makes it simple, right? That on the print part, don't do any mathematical expression to begin with. After, once you are in programming habits, then that's fine, because then it's not complicated. Your print line is kind of simple. You have one variable, you have another variable, and then you just print it, right? So any mathematical expression, you do it before printing, so that it's a little bit more clear to you. That, okay, this is a mathematical expression that is assigned to this variable, I'm just printing the variable. So that was like a side note. Now, one of the homework that you should do is, and then what you should do is, do any homework, anything that you want to do. Take a 5th grade child's mathematical test, and then write a small program with a lot of variables and prints, and then just print it, right? So the homework is that you take any basic math something, maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 10 in one program, or maybe 10 in separate programs, but then you share it in the discuss channel. Because everybody is different, then you don't step on each other's foot, and then everybody share their own program. And it will just be a good exercise for others to see and everything.
You just want a whole bunch of random exercises?
Right. So you make one exercise. I'll have other homework too, but you make one exercise, 2 exercises, and then just print it. And like means just do it and then send it to the discuss group. You guys. So who is the one who has not sent anything on the discussion group? You have not sent anything on the discussion group.
I'm not on.
You're not even on there?
No, I texted you, but I never got
Yeah. Oh yeah. You didn't get anything.
it.
Man, I totally forgot. I did get your text and added you in my contacts, but I totally forgot. But okay, yeah. And then you have not sent anything on.
Nope.
Sisters, you have sent anything on the discussion group?
No, what?
Anything?
I did.
You did, right? So everybody has to send something. Either you solve somebody else's problem, you do something, because we have to be involved a little bit more. All right. So that was something that I wanted to begin with. So some quick questions so that we can go back to our slideshow, not from current slide. All right. Let's go back to what happens if I forget to declare a variable? We have seen this, right? What happens?
Error.
Error. So Musa, what kind of error it will be?
What's it called? It's
Anybody else? It will be a syntax, it will be more like a semantic error, but it will be what means, it will say, I don't know this variable, right? Because you have not even declared it. Declared is like naming, right? So if you have not declared it, it does not know the name. So I say, I started using X. So I don't know X, right? So it will give that kind of error. And we've seen that error today, but that's fine. What happens if I forget to initialize a variable? So what happens?
Will it be overwritten?
No.
Is that all syntax error?
There will be a syntax error also, but what error it will give? And we have discussed it in the last class also. Uninitialized variable. Use of uninitialized variable. But again, we discussed it there too. If it is on the left side, it will not complain because it's being initialized now. But if it is used on the right side, or say in the system out print line, it will say it's uninitialized. You're trying to print something which is not, there's nothing in there.
So, with an example like this, you could put the d times 5 plus 6 on the left-hand side and the c on the right-hand side. Mathematically, it wouldn't matter, but in the program,
It would.
it would.
Yes, 100%. It will not work. So on the left hand, always gets the value from the right hand. Right. So, can somebody look at this and say what happens? And then A and B are some int. So the question is A and B are some int, which has already been defined and initialized. They already have defined and some value. Now, if I just run this, what happens? So, who has JDoodle running? So let's try that. It's kind of easy, so we can try that. And print A and B both. I usually don't want to do this, but I think that we have to go a little bit slow, but make sure that everybody does some exercises. Choice up. Where is your computer? Check it out.
My battery dies quick.
Oh, you bet. No, even my battery is like at 39%, so I'm a little bit worried. Maybe we will have to see what happens, but yeah, if it complains, then we will have to stop. But I'm sure it will go for at least for an hour.
EXT. Yeah, that one. Yeah. Only the outcome.
So once you have the JDoodle up, you have to define two variables first. Say A is equal to 1, B is equal to, int A is equal to 1, int B is equal to 9, right? And then you can put all these three in one line. Java does not care. Or you can put them in 3 lines after each semicolon, put it down, then put it down, right? Java does not care if it's 1 line or 3 lines. And then after that, you have to do system out print line. The value of A is plus A, the value of B is plus B. Sister, hopefully you'll have the next time. Yeah, but if you have to sit with them, you can do that. Ah, right, definitely, that would be a good idea. Okay, I come, we'll see what you guys are doing. Musa, I'm looking at you. Sisters are winning. No, so this is right. But before that, you define A and B. So we have to define two integers first. Int A is equal to 1, B is equal to 0. It will give you a little bit of an error, but that's fine. Oh, no, 0 is not, I'm sorry. Anything, 9 is fine. It will give you a little bit of error, but hopefully you will fix it. So, yeah, you just have to put two print lines. One says the value of A is this. You don't have to delete the whole thing, yeah. Yeah, exactly. The value of A is this and the value of B is this. So, well, Abdul-Hamid, you're almost there. Let's see if you can fix some of the errors that you will encounter. And they are not big enough.
Do we need the system?
Say again?
Do we need the print this?
Yeah. So you will print line as the value of A, the way that we did. So you can check, but the value of A, you see you're getting some error, right?
No, I haven't executed it yet.
Oh, you've not.
I'm not sure what's approved in the system like that.
So for example, you can always say, so like the value of A is, and then A, right? So this, when it will print the value of A is colon, and then it will take the value of A and then print it out. Same you will do the value of B is. Anybody has it working, running?
I'm getting an error.
Okay, what kind of error are you getting?
B cannot be resolved.
What?
B can be resolved.
Why?
But we didn't give it a value assignment.
No, but did you even define it?
Should I define it?
Means, of course.
I thought we're not-
So that's a good question, brother. Brother Shahjahan said, should I define it? So anything you do not define in your program, the program thinks it is not there. Program does not know about it. Right? So one of the things about programming that I said very, very early was that everything is you have to define. It's a very on a very minuscule level. Every level you have to define everything.
I'm getting one for one. Yeah, me too.
You're getting what?
One is somehow one got assigned for both A and B.
Somehow a 1.
I initialized 9, assigned 9 to B, but then when I execute it, it goes straight down. Oh, 1 and 0.
But still you're getting 1 on both.
Same as that.
Right.
Then that's supposed to.
No.
You're surprised.
Yeah.
They also have the same
So,
value.
no, so it must be, no.
We put in
Two different values?
yeah, put 0, 1 and 0.
I'll put 10.
What did you get?
I got the value 10 for all the.
Wait, did you
variables
put A
for all
and B
the
equal the same?
Yeah, I give the value 10, right? For each of these.
Well, no, they're both the same. Give them different numbers.
So I give one, just say 15.
Oh, so you fucked up this stuff.
Yeah, because we changed it up.
Well, no, I mean, both showing up as 1. You know what?
Yeah, I think it reads from right to left. So, hold on.
So, yeah, but that doesn't matter as such. And just like it said, we
So look like this,
can
A
make
is
it
10, and B is 15, right? Then over here we change everything around. I equals equals A. B equals I.
T is equal to A, T goes 1.
So the A goes over.
Then B is equal to
Right.
T, B goes 1. Then A is equal to
Get it?
B,
And then
A
A equals B, right?
becomes.
And what does B equal?
So no, so something.
Okay, I see.
Right.
It got overwritten. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe my program is not correct.
B, right?
T is equal to A,
Well, no, we
Which is one.
then
because we didn't try to put in equation. We just overwrote
right. So T is equal to A.
Yes. Can I hold them so I?
Yeah.
Alright, we'll figure it out.
Yes.
You see it?
So this is not the way that I have it is not correct.
So
But that's fine.
check it out.
Good. So what are you seeing? 10 times value of
So,
y.
where you teach?
No, but this is like value of A is
What
10.
happened was.
Value of y is
it got
15.
overwritten. So like.
No,
mine-
this is the.
Right to left, right?
The left
Yeah,
one.
yeah, but in mine, so I got.
Okay. You have both programs in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
A equals B.
So A is equal to 1, B is equal to 9, T is equal to A plus B. No, but you don't want A plus B. You want to do
Override
that.
B, right? Okay. And then
What
you
you see
put
there.
B equals T, just like you said, goes left to right,
Right.
that overrules.
You want-
For B.
So you can see it, right? You can see it clearly from here, the last line.
So,
T equal to A. Then you have to do A is equal to
yeah,
B.
so what he
Then
did
you have
instead
to
of
do B is
T
equal to B.
equals B,
Let me fix it. But so you have to put three of those things in here, and then you have to print both A and B.
George plus,
George equals
Right. So what does it do?
overwrites.
No, not override.
What?
Exchange. So override, of course, there is override in here and there, but the result is A has the value from B, B has the value from A. To do that, you need a T. For in here it meant temporary. So to do this, you need a temporary variable. Otherwise, you cannot just switch A and B values. You have to put a temporary value. So you put it in temporary, take this to this, and then put the temporary back into one of this.
So that's cool, when would you use that?
It's used a lot of places. A lot of places. Well, time to time. It just depends on what you do. But you got the idea. You have to not print just, you have to print the value of A and the value of B both. Right. And then before that, you will define A and B. Otherwise, it will not work, right? And in the meantime, let me fix it also. So who did not understand it or who was not participating fully in it? You guys are all good. You are not good. Musa? So this is the correct way of doing it. So again, define two variables, do this line in one line or 3 lines, then print those two variables that you define. And you will see that those variables, the values have switched. So it is just a simple, interesting example on how we do few things. Means swap, we sometimes call value swap. This is, of course, a very simple, basic thing, but a lot of things kind of are done this way. Means you do this and you do that.
I guess that would allow you to switch the value of a particular variable temporarily without having to reassign it, right?
Right. Means you recreate or yeah, right. And the other thing is sometimes, for example, you don't know the values, right? Because it's a variable. Well, the program is running, it can be any values. So this is like how the whole system works. That this variable will hold this value and this variable will hold this value. You define it, and sometimes you have to just switch it for some reason. So it's all depending on what program you want to do, right, and what it is doing. But the whole idea here is that assigning, initializing, and those kind of things are done everywhere. And then you have a good grasp of it. So, are we done with it, or?
I have an error. What we should print after?
So you will print both variable A and variable B.
But is that error?
Let's see. But so first of all, you're just printing. You're not fully printing it, but let's try to fix it a little bit. So you've defined A 1, that's fine. You've defined B is equal to 9, that's fine. You have done this a little bit differently. So we have to define int t, just like this, right? And then we have to give it a. I'm just copying it so that we are not. And then that is one line. Let's put it each in separate line. And then we will do A equal B.
Just give the value for A.
Because otherwise this will be.
Remove the value.
So you have to follow exactly how it is. You may be following it. I'm just rewriting it. And then T is equal to B.
T equals A. Right, and then A equals B. B equals.
Right, and then you have already printed one
The
value.
T in there.
But let's
Make a
fix
new line.
value of A is.
Second, just copy paste that first line.
This is a string, and then you make it
Paste it again.
right, and then you
And then put in A in the
value
middle
of
and B in the second.
B is B. Right, so then once we execute it, this will print, right? But let's put a